Disregard the breaking noises. We are picking up where we left off on last Sunday. Congratulations, Jakestraw, on being first. We got ourselves a nice little vacation house here. Nothing in the fridge. Oh, thank you very much for the head taps. I appreciate them. Alright, so if memory serves, this one there was no alarms. It was just a bunch of barrels that were really hard to move. And I've got basically none of my tools. I have to like find them on the go. I can work with this. I have forgotten where all the tools were. Actually, that's not true. I think that there were a bunch of like good ones up here. Vague memories are resurfacing. The only type I have. Planks. My source of power. My throat is really dry. You did redeem hydrate. It clearly wasn't enough. I need more. I must be an AI. Never enough water. Okay, so this is one of the barrels. There was like this trellis here. I could either try to get it up and over this thing, or take out the trellis and put the barrel down into a boat. And I think the boat is probably my better bet. Though it might also just punch a hole in the boat after falling that distance, so hopefully it doesn't do that. Oh, there's a big truck here. I could get the forklift out of it, maybe? Use that to move barrels around on land. There were guns at every guard post, I remember that bit. I have lost all ability to climb. These things happen. Ooh, pipe bomb. Excellent. Miku would be proud. I'm gonna mute myself and clear my throat for a second. Give me just a minute. Just a second. I return. I think it was one of those things where there was like, I don't know what it would have been, but like a bit of fur or similar just like caught in my throat. Like it probably wasn't fur, but like that kind of like weird fuzzy sensation. Okay, we got some cables. There's also some propane here, which isn't a tool but is basically a pipe bomb. Part of me wants to make a pipe bomb IRL as like a fun arts and crafts project. The rest of me is like, Ariel, no, don't do that. This is how you get in trouble. It's okay, my voice usually like smooths out after I start talking. I'll be fine. Okay, I got a straight shot to the water over here. So this might be where I want to load it into a boat. That's probably the path of least resistance. And that's the only barrel on this stretch of island, actually. In fact, there's only 5 of them. Nice. Most of them are on the left-hand side. I'm gonna grab the boat that's over there and bring it around. I don't think I have any reason to leave it over there. Maybe I want to leave the raft intact. I think there's a speedboat just over here anyway, so it's fine. Yeah. I like haven't drank water all day. There's a thing there. It's true, the cable did break. But this one's faster anyway, so it's fine. Shotgun. Oh. Descansa en paz, Diego amigo. Viejo amigo. I don't know what that means, but I think it's father. Do not quote me on that, though. I do not speak Spanish. But I think it said goodbye, my father, my friend. Yeah, this thing is perhaps not solid enough for cargo transport. We will find out promptly. Huh. That actually went surprisingly painlessly. Never mind. Okay, I'm just gonna be tapping the gas a little tiny bit. Totally counts. Yeah, I might need to use a truck to push this thing back into the water. In hindsight, beaching it there was perhaps not the smartest thing I could have done. Yeah, there's a thing around back here. And there's a boat just around the corner that I can use for it. This looks like it's probably like a lifeguard boat. Like it looks like it's covered in things to like get people out of the water if they shouldn't be in the water. But it's so precariously like wedged in there. Like I feel like if it's meant to be like a rapid response thing, it's probably not rapid enough. Oh well, it's fine. It's good enough for my purposes. That was surprisingly gentle. Okay. And I gotta go all the way around. Even if I want to keep using this boat, everything else is internal, so no reason not to bring it around. My throat is really dry. Wow. It's like the water... Thank you very much. It's like the water keeps going past the dry part of my throat and like down to where I don't need water as much. Which I know isn't like how it works, but like it kind of feels that way. I might also just be coming down with something. That happens sometimes. It's been a while since I've been, like, really sick. I'm hoping not to have that happen. Fingers crossed it doesn't. Okay, so there's the one behind the trellis. The best thing for that is probably the blowtorch. I'm pretty sure that there's a blowtorch around here somewhere, I just can't remember exactly where. But I'll probably find it. Yeah, so there's one just there. I can probably drop it onto a boat. Take some careful maneuvering, but not that big of a deal. I think. There's no objective in here, but there might be a tool. Like a shotgun. Or cables. Something about the view from, like, right here. I couldn't tell you why, but something about this view specifically reminded me of, like, Jedi Academy. The sequel to Dark Forces Jedi Outcast. Couldn't tell you why. Maybe like the sandy lighting. Alright, so I could maybe drop something here. There's another one in here. Getting it down is something of an obstacle course. Unless I just, like, put a bridge down. Which, having had that thought, this looks kind of bridge-shaped. It looks slightly less bridge-shaped now, I will admit. You remember hearing that they were Quake engine games? Wouldn't surprise me. The first two were for MS-DOS. Then Outcast and Academy. I don't know what they were originally for, but I originally played Outcast on the GameCube, of all things. And then Academy on PC. And the first two games are a little bit rough, but Outcast and Academy are both incredible. I highly recommend. I'll definitely play them on stream at some point. You don't come this way. Excellent. It'd be kind of cool if there was, like, actually just explicitly a cargo crane that I could use. Aw. Let's see if just dropping the barrel won't send it straight through the bed of the boat. Is that the right term? I'm hoping it'll land where the cargo goes and not in the water. I have a bad feeling about this, but I can save and load, so... Let's try rolling with a bit of momentum. Usually a deck with boats? You're probably right. Once upon a time, I actually knew things like that. I used to be, like, obsessed with boats as a kid. But it ended up not going anywhere. Oh, hold up. Cargo crane, you say? Yeah, I've heard that, like, boats tend to be ruinously expensive. Apparently the joke is, like, the happiest day of a sailor's life is when he gets his boat. Sorry, the second happiest day of a sailor's life is when he gets his boat. The happiest day is when he sells it. Another bit of advice that I heard was, like, tally up every expense you think you're going to have if you want a boat, and then triple that number. Like, they cost so much money. It's like, you need the boat, you need, like, maintenance, you need, like, insurance, you need, like, docking fees. They're very, very expensive. Specifically, I think that my dream as a child was to, like, make the best cruise ship ever. But I wasn't born with enough wealth to ever pull that off, so... Everybody around me told me that it was a bad idea. Until I, a small child, gave up on it. Yeah, their motivations were basically just, they basically just wanted me to be like a perfect little drone for school, but in this particular instance, they happened to be right. Okay. And the third one's over there. Thing was making some ominous noises. Can I get this over here without falling in? Not like that, I can't. That went surprisingly well. Could lower the boat's gate and back up straighter. No. I'd win. That and this boat handles really, really, really badly. Like, I am not confident that I can turn this thing around in this much space. Like, it doesn't want to start turning until it's already moving forward at a decent clip. Okay, we're scraping the rock a little bit. That's fine. Do I have to put the optional ones in first? Not for this one. It's just, there are 5, I need at least 3. So the first 3 that I put in are required, and the last 2 are considered optional. I did not find a blowtorch, but maybe a pipe bomb will work. So I think the blowtorch is in this area. There's also propane if it comes to that. A genuine peg leg. As opposed to presumably like an artificial peg leg. Which I kind of thought was the whole point, if I'm being entirely honest. Okay, this is a heavy load. My boat is noticeably listing, but it's also moving. It might just be listing because I took a chunk out of it. Either way, this is fine. Oh dear, that one's in the way. I like how the boat that I ran aground is not the boat that's now the problem. Yeah, luckily, I don't need this one back, so I can just gun it into a wall. You're good. Not gonna lie, that was way smoother than I thought it was gonna be. Oh my. Alright. People have been here and have not been responsible. There was that golden banana back in, like, my initial place. I wonder if there's something equivalent here. Like a fun little secret. Is this the top of a coral reef? I think this might be a coral reef. That's kind of cool. This actually helps them grow. I'm doing my part. I'm pretty sure that's a thing anyway. Like, I think specifically, like, if you take, like, a piece of coral and you, like, crack it without breaking it, it, like, regrows more. Like, if it's capped off and you, like, damage it, it regrows bigger than how it was. And so scientists were like, once they discovered this, they started, like, deliberately cracking coral in specific places to, like, encourage them to regrow the way that they ought to. Which sounds an awful lot like grafting, like, branches to trees. Feels like it's very similar. I don't know if it actually is, or if that was maybe like a simplified thing, and it's not actually how it works. But coral is nice, and one way or another, I would like to live in a world with more of it. Also, thank you for the hydration. Breaking supply chain. I just got a note from the local police department. The barrels are secured and being shipped to Locale at this very moment. I have just one last thing to ask before you can return home. There's already a shortage of blue tide, and if we manage to cut the supply chain for this key ingredient, we could keep it off the shelves until I have a case against amanitides. You didn't hear this from me, but causing a bit of havoc to the moratoria operation would probably do the trick. The guards must have already noticed your visit by now, so you might want to stay out of sight. Scavenge for tools, destroy at least 4 targets, avoid guard helicopter. Yeah, that did look like a relaxation thing. I don't know if it was like a sleep for the night type bed. But yeah, no, mosquitoes I despise. Scavenge tools, destroy targets, avoid helicopter. High pressure boiler. You know, it occurs to me. This gentleman has a gun too. Get wrecked. I appear to be missing most of my blood. This is fine. Oh. I wonder if I can quick save after getting spotted. Oh, let me up. Okay, so I can quick save with the helicopter knowing where I am. That makes this a lot easier. I can just lock it in after every victory. Tuning kit. I presume for like a guitar or something. I can't imagine it being like a piano. Excellent. More pipe bombs. Hi. I was on the right track at least. Hi. You can see me, right? Hi, it's me. It'll get the thing eventually, I'm sure. Like that, yeah. Okay, 5 more targets, most of them on the northern end of the island. Oh, scuba tank, shotgun. Excellent. That was a concerning dip. Which is what people usually say when I go swimming. Okay. There's one to the south that I kinda drove past, but that's okay. Ow, ow, ow. The last roll of toilet paper, $5. Oh no. Alright then. Chemical distiller. Back north. I don't know if this actually stops it from seeing me. No, it does not. Oh, chemical boiler. I could use a gunshot. But I think it's funnier not to. My arm is not as strong as I thought it was. Oh, hey, look, I did it. First try. I was like, did you forget where I was or something? Hi. Ow. Right, please forget where I am for a moment. Thank you. Pipe bomb, excellent. Gotta get over here now. Oh dear. This is mine. Okay, so like the super cool like action movie hero thing that was in my head was I'll knock over the tree and then run up the length of the tree as it's falling. And then jump off dramatically. Excellent. I don't think, like, a foot of water is bulletproof to any caliber. But maybe that's just my ignorance of the ways of guns showing through, speaking of. Oh. Big boom. And now I simply escape. Ooh, car. Yes. So anyway, about that action movie thing. Ow, ow, ow. Oh dear. If memory serves, it's actually faster to go around this way. I actually remembered a route for once, yay. I think it also has to do with, like, how much water, like, the bullet has to go through. Like, if it's a foot of water, you're probably not gonna have a great time. But if it's, like, meters of water, you're probably fine. Because, like, the stat that's coming to my mind is that, light, the intensity of light gets, like, half as bright for every, like, foot of water that it travels through. So I'm imagining, like, they probably... like, light and mass aren't comparable at all, but, like, I'm imagining, like, oh, they probably lose, like, half their velocity every like, foot that they travel through. It's like they will slow down quickly, just not quickly enough that, like, a foot of it will save you. I presume, anyway. I don't actually know. Elena Fernandez, un favor. Buenos días. Mi trabajo Isla Estocástica, Minolats. Necesito un favor. Gran problema with Señor de la Droga, idioto. Necesito venganza. Okay, she's speaking my language. Quiero la yak grande in agua disparecer, por favor, Elena. Ultimately, just leave. I heard you did a good job. Enjoy your last day in the sun before heading back home. Okay, I think she's asking me to sink her boss's yacht, which I'm very on board with. One of the workers has spotted your activities. She's having problems with her boss and wants revenge. Help her sink his luxury yacht into the ocean. Happily. Is this as simple as just putting a hole in it and letting it go down, or... must I invoke more effort than that? There's some propane there. I should probably use that first, actually. I wonder if there are any pipe bombs out and about. There's also the gigantic explosives that are, like, over here. But that's quite the trek. And I probably don't need them. The big ones, I mean. It's gotta have a fuel tank somewhere. That's kind of what I was thinking with the first boat crash. You know what, I see this yacht, and I think of, like, Bored Ape Yacht Club, and it makes me want to total the thing even more. Like, ah yes, worthy of destruction. Sideswiping it would probably do more damage. Like, obviously, like, NFTs are, like, the old thing to make fun of at this point, but, like, legit? How did anybody buy the notion of, like, a completely unique image that they literally mass-produced? Yeah, you can also just, like, right-click save, you can also, like, screenshot it. There we go. Okay, so the integrity has been destroyed. Now I also have to get it below the surface. I see. Okay. There's like a part 2 to this. And it's like, if the idea is like, oh, you own the rights to the image, you could do that without... You could do that with normal images. That's already a thing. That's called copyright. It didn't need to be reinvented. This might take some doing. I'm gonna take a 5-minute break here. Please use this time to refill your beverage, go to the bathroom. Anything that would take you about 5 minutes. I will see you shortly. I return. I have a gun with one bullet in it. A volleyball turned into a toy. But if it was a volleyball, it was a toy to begin with. Like, are there non-recreational uses of volleyballs that I'm not aware of? Oh well. Let's try smashing into this a bit more and see if that gets me anywhere. The cable's not accomplishing anything is a bit of a pain. This is fine. Yeah, if I had realized that it had to go below the surface, I wouldn't have shoved it onto the land. I was like, what's that word that's like the opposite of water? The bit where people walk with their legs. Genuinely forgot the word land. Oh well. Oh, okay. We take those. These reflections are interesting. They're like tiled weirdly. Anyway. Time to head back home. Savant. A new rank. Well, that's a lot of nice vehicles. Oh, $2,000 cash reward, we take those. I guess I'm just gonna keep getting cash now, I've probably unlocked everything. And like, I'm not complaining because cash is upgrades. The thing is, there's so many good options to spend things on. I'm out of tides. Breakthrough. Such a fabulous day. I had brunch with the Advertise manager to discuss recent issues, and it became immediately clear who the culprit behind all these break-ins is. A plan has been set in motion to solve this interference once and for all. There are a few favors I will have to ask of you, though. First, I need a sturdy vehicle. Locale Home Guard ordered a new transport truck that would be perfect for the job. It's currently stuck in the Frostrum Canal due to some shipping mishap. Could you go and wiggle it out for me? Alternately, Gordon Wu. Hey, it's been a while. I was hoping I wouldn't need to reach out to you again, but it's been a bit complicated lately. I lost my job at the mall. Boss was a maniac anyway. Can't believe I put up with him for all those years. Bit of financial trouble here. See, I bought the abandoned Lee plot to realize an old dream of mine. The Racing Wonderland theme park. This is exactly what Lakel needs, don't you think? I spent my last savings on the new rides and totally forgot about the upcoming holidays. I know they bring out the decorations of the mall this time of year, so maybe you could just sneak in and bring me some of them? Would add that last touch to my grand opening next week. Can't really offer anything in return, though. How about a free day pass, too? Just for old time's sake? And don't worry about collateral damage. Any convenience for that old Scrooge would be my pleasure. This one's a side mission, so I'll do it first. Steal 4 Christmas decorations, carry them to the van, watch out for security robots that will trigger the alarm if you're detected. I like how I start the mission and then quick save. PC gaming moment, let's go. Okay, so actual stealth mission, don't get spotted by robots. I got my stuff back, which is nice. And very powerful. How does one take? Okay, I presume I have to, like, detach this from the wall and then, like, actually physically drag it. Which is cool. I'm on board with this. Don't mind me, Mr. Robot Man. This is fine. You didn't see anything. Yeah, I didn't need those rounds, whatever. I can just go into the wall. I don't mind. Okay, that's one. None of them appear to be outside, which makes sense. Oh, that must be a heater. Portable heaters are super nice. Every time I get one, though, it always, like, burns out within a year. Which, granted, might just be because I'm, like, not getting good enough heaters. But, like... I don't know, I feel like a year is just not long enough for anything. Like, especially if I'm not, like, running at full blast, you know? Oh. Thank you for the hydration. Oh, there's a star on the tree on the roof. That's cool. Not gonna lie, I think I actually made their logo better. It actually looks really good. That looks like it's meant to be there. That made my night. Alright, come here, you. This is fine. There's a couple of things over there, a couple of things over there. This is fine. I wonder if there's anything fun inside this safe. Nope. Just a box. And I put that there so it doesn't count. you didn't see anything. Alright, so the next thing's gonna be like another floor above that, I think. Maybe even 2 floors. Those red things on the back, I wonder if that's like a switch I can push to turn them off. The glowing button calls to me. Stealth. I don't know if I can show this on stream. Whatever they're doing is breaking glass. I feel like we're witnessing an entire relationship arc. Keep in mind, these are the people trying to defend the mall. Well, not people, but you know what I mean. Vodka. Can you see me through the window? Wait, don't mind me. Don't mind me. You remember doing something like that in Portal, using a cube as a shield from the turrets? I've done similar things in the past. It's always fun messing with AI. Especially once you, like, get a handle on how it's actually, like, detecting you. Straight raycasts from, like, their face to your face are by far the funniest ones to mess with. Oh, is that chandelier thing what I'm after? Yes, it is. Gotta go check that out. This is fine. Right, and then it's just one last, Laurel, I think they're called. It just says decoration. Bye, have a great time. I like stealth missions. Unless there's a helicopter. No, I like those too. Truck stuck in muck. A military truck being delivered to Locale Home Guard got stuck in the Locale Canal today due to bad weather. Sounds about right. A military's truck got stuck in the Frustrum Canal. He needs it for a secret project. Bring the vehicle parts to the escape vehicle. Heavy duty vehicle. Heavy duty vehicle. Super grip experimental tires. Looks like there's no alarm condition, it just looks like it's gonna be a pain to actually, like, move things around. Oh, this is all the damage from the recent storm. If I could turn these around, that'd be nice, but I don't think I can. I suppose that the thing to do is probably find some construction equipment and try to use that to, like, lift it up and out. Alternatively, maybe just try to, like, drag it onto land and then just, like, drag it. That could maybe work. I do have these, like, boosters that I've been, like, underutilizing. That could maybe do it. Getting it on land seems like it's going to be a difficult thing. I see a crane over here. I fear that this won't be heavy enough to lift the thing, but there's one way to find out. After all those boats that I was piloting the other day, and by the other day I mean like an hour ago, that thing feels like a golf cart for how responsive it is, like in a good way. Like, ah yes, I will simply just put it where I want it. No fuss, no muss. I'm just imagining how it would feel if I was this strong in real life. Probably really weird. I'm not meant to be this strong. I'm the type that, like, struggles to carry my groceries home when I go shopping. It would feel really weird and uncanny. Worked better than I thought it would, not gonna lie. Alright. Let's get this thing over there. Gotta get this thing out of the way. Anything fun inside? Nope. Okay. Oh, the engine's out on this. I wonder if the rocket boosters would work here. Nope. I mean, yeah, let's just use rocket. What is stopping us? Is it actually the snow? Okay, that's kind of funny, actually. And also, can confirm, snow is actually really heavy. Like, if you haven't had to, like, shovel a lot of it, it's so much heavier than you think it is. Oh, or I could just go around the back. That works too, I guess. Come along, whatever you are. You're getting a bath. Come on. Come along. That looked kind of like a cage. I sure hope there was something in it. I possibly could have just used the gate, but whatever. Too late now. I've made my decision. I don't think I'm getting around that back. That's okay, because there's this adequately wide alley right here. Never mind. Let's try that again. That arm is just looking for an excuse to break. Let's try and clear a little bit more space. That's probably good enough. Like a glove. Power lines are a social construct. Without the thing, the cables look like just dangling spaghetti. Alright, now to do that twice more. Though I think the last one is a lot lighter, so it should be a lot easier. I presume, at least. Let's see. Do I have any other construction equipment? With a crane arm? I don't think so. 90 in general, with the arm, not so much. I almost wonder if maybe it would have been smarter to use the crane to, like, load things into the backs of other things. Oh well. What are the odds that I can turn this around in this little bit of, this little bit of water right here? It's not the worst handling boat in the game. I think the tether was unironically, making it harder. Move this off to the side just a little bit. Okay, vehicle's a little bit messed up, but this is fine. Fun fact, if you live in like a really like snowy, icy area, there are ships that are literally called icebreaker ships. And their entire like deal is that they're really strong and they just kind of plow forward and break ice in front of them in order to clear paths for other smaller ships to get through. It would look sort of like this. Let's get these out of the way. Uh-oh. This is fine. Who put all this stuff in the water? How inconsiderate. Getting wet in temperatures like this would unironically probably kill you. Like, being out in the cold, not that big of a deal. Being out in the cold while, like, doused with water, like, actually life-threatening. Alright, this is probably enough. Once I get over to there, once I get it over here, it's probably fine. Assuming it didn't sink while I was occupied. Which it very well may have done. We're good. We're good. He's holding on by like 1, maybe 2 tethers. That looked less than an ideal settling of weight. But it's still coming along, so it's fine. The good news is, if I use the canal again, all the ice will already be out of the way. Oh, I think I just lost it. Yeah, I just lost it. However, I can actually work with this, I think. And get this out of the way. I saw this truck in half. I'm pretty sure I can't destroy, like, the central axis of the vehicle. Which is moderately unfortunate. But I can saw a truck there. I can cut a truck in half if I avoid doing that, so it's fine. It can burn, I don't mind. Make it easier to handle. I do still have the crane thing. In hindsight, quick saving with a car part in the water is certainly a level of commitment. Ah well. I'll be fine. Oh, it's the snowdrift. Hope this reaches far enough. Okay, so it was still connected. We're going to take a 5-minute break here. Please use this time to refill your beverage, go to the bathroom. Anything that would take you about 5 minutes. I will see you shortly. I return. This thing is in the way. It's also still quite heavy, although at least movable. And a little bit magic by the looks of things. Oh, is it still connected to the barge? That would do it. Alright, we got this. We got this. It's not quite balanced, but that's okay. I cannot drive it without the crane. It is not a complete vehicle. This actually went surprisingly well. I didn't even damage the crane further. I don't know, but... Alright, then the last one's probably the easiest one. Or so I presume. It's just tires. So, like, there's a non-zero chance that I can just move them by hand, albeit, inconveniently. Okay, these are all daisy chained together. This'll be easy. Oh, wrong button, wrong button, very wrong button. Mistakes have been made. This is fine. Luckily, that's the sort of mistake that's easy to rectify. Yeah, picking them up by hand's not really an option. They are definitely lighter, but not that light. We hit reverse instead of drive. And we're good. Just in case they thought I was sorry. This out of the way. Get this out of the way. Oh. Made it a decent distance. There's a forklift there, so it can take up the... It can take up the load. Get these out of the way. It is kind of where I shoved the truck, huh? Truck is kind of every direction you look. This is fine. Honestly, it's flat ground. I could probably drag them the rest of the way at this point. But, like... You can use a big vehicle. May as well use a big vehicle. That's my thought process, at least. I would use the bomb, but I'm scared of, like, breaking the ground and not being able to drive over it. I also just remembered that I have this. It makes literally this job so much easier. Evil. Not the biggest fan of the squishy noises that the gables are making. This is fine. Excellent. Ooh, snowman. Snowball. Oh, is that the main character and his mother? That's actually adorable. Shoddy craftsmanship. Anton Wolf, Tools at Quillez. Hey, I just heard something. Quillez. You know the security company? They're installing several secure vaults on the premises. Very sturdy stuff. They must have a gold mine of tools laying around. I could definitely use some of that for the parking garage. Could you head over there and pick them up? Alternately, the last one for real, for real, for real, for real, for real. The rails when your trip arrived. We have almost everything we need to file a case against Amanatides, but there's this one piece still missing. To secure evidence for a connection to the drug lab in Moratori, we need to download their communication data. It's transmitted from the wall, but it's encrypted to multiple antennas. So we need free line of sight to the van and all antennas within range to get simultaneous coverage. Could you find a way to get good coverage for the surveillance van? I will grab the tools first. Oh, this is the fancy one. A fire alarm, wired alarm box. It's been a minute since I did one of these. I kind of presumed that X meant, like, dig here. Apparently not. This is fine. Hmm. Who are these solar panels? probably. The planks between that boat and the dock are disappearing when I zoom away from it. How shall I get up there? It looks like it's probably internal, so I probably don't need to climb the outside. But I also probably could climb the outside. Oh. Here's one of the things. It's in a box, which is presumably movable. Yep, it's got the movable icon. I don't know this map as well. But doing missions is how you get to know things, so this is fine. Anything here? Do you know about that? That's where I was. I think the camera zipping through the wall just told me that there's something here. Like, maybe not exactly here, but like... Oh, here we are. I've always wanted a vault. I don't think I have anything to put into a vault, but I've kind of always wanted one. I just think it'd be, like, really fun to, like, you know, twist a big dial and, like, seal something away. Or, like, twist a big dial and, like, unseal something. How fast are these elevators? Probably not very. My escape route will probably not involve elevators. I conceivably could move this, but I might not have to. Like, maybe I start there, go there, grab that, come up, get that. There's still these three things, though. Haven't even laid eyes on them yet. Okay, that's just the car lifter thing. Imagine being a facility so big you got your own gas station. That's kind of insane to me. Elevator is nice, though. Up there is the thing. Office safe master key replica. Thing here, can't grab. A deck of poker cards, alright. Oh, is this a movable ramp thing? It's got the movable icon on it. Down further, I see. 27 meters down. Mega shop back. And then Weld Master. I forgot the number already. That's up pretty far compared to this. Potentially climb up here. Yeah, that's too high up. I wonder if these icons update in real time. Oh wait, I was looking at the wrong one. Silly me. Isn't this roughly where I started? I feel like it is. And alright. So I probably want to start here, and then kind of like go around like this. That's how I envision it anyway. Alternately, maybe get up here and then like go in a straight line to the escape vehicle somehow. Like, is that just here? Yes, it is. So actually ending up there might be more viable. Yeah, so go around like that, I guess. This is conceivably movable. What could I move it with, if anything? I'm not really seeing anything that could get the job done easily. Like, there is stuff, I just don't think I can get it there. Huh, interesting. The red X's disappear through the glass. I wonder if that's like an intended, I wonder if that's like an intended art direction thing, or if that's like viewing transparency through transparency and getting culled. It could go either way. Oh, I was just in here. Silly me. Okay. So I start here. Which one is closer? I need to go all the way down to get that thing. I think I don't need to go all the way down to get this thing. Or maybe they're roughly equally down. Okay, so I could get this, or I could like blast a hole in the wall here and grab that. Can I go through this wall to get down further? Yes, yes I can. Which lets me grab this. Okay, then I zoom over this way. I probably want to start down there, then climb up. That's going to be a challenge. I know that I can climb up pretty quickly if I've got a route, so I don't want to dismiss it out of hand. But I may need to reevaluate this route, actually. Okay, grab this. Late mouse getting complex? Absolutely. So grab that. Running, grab this. I want to end up there. Which I can get up there by going like this. And through this window. All the way up there, was it? Yes, yes, it was all the way up there. There are stairs here. could probably put a hole in the ground here, or even just send the thing down. Like, still attached to the thing. So if I dangle this, will it fall and snap, or... Yes, it will. Yeah. What if I gave it another cable? Yeah, like that. And I can, like, grab this from, not nearly as high up. I could even maybe do something with a crane, so I can, like, run up and just grab it and not have to climb up this thing at all. Oh, true, I could just shoot the cable. And that would make it drop. Okay, so yeah, I can just grab that, pop out, get that. Then I gotta get up there. Or alternately, grab that, pop down there. Then I gotta get up there. Yeah, so I grab that, run over here, go down here. Right, grab this thing. And the last thing is basically straight up. I probably want to go through the wall. Not an option, alright. If I go around like this... Wait, that just gets me back up here. Where I want to be is over there, actually, I think. So maybe dangling that out wasn't the best idea. Then again, I think taking the whole, all the way around route would probably not be very fast either way, so... Might be a moot point. Alternately, maybe I can use the thing to climb up here faster. That's possibly a thing that I can do. Grab that, drop down, get that. I feel like my routing is not going to work in its current incarnation. But I also feel like I may as well send it and see how, see if I'm, like, within the ballpark of, like, viability. Here, please. Oh. Come on. That gets me up here. And the last thing I want is up there. So I grab that, then just out through the wall here, and hypothetically it works. I don't know if I'm even in the ballpark of having enough time to do it that way, but let's find out. Got my gamer paint if I need it. Not a great start. How do I get the thing down here and then get back up? Like this, right, okay. The funny thing is, I think this might actually be doable. Especially if I use, like, the blue tide. I just gotta smooth out some of the edges a little bit. That, down like this, this, over this way. Shoot that thing down. Where do I emerge from again? Because I might be able to grab that on the way back up, actually. So I grab that, go this way. Out here. Yeah, I think it might be a bit faster to grab this on the way up. Then run up this thing. It could totally work. Alright. Oh, you know what? Yeah, you know what might make this even easier? If I put, like, a nitroglycerin there, and then I shoot the nitroglycerin instead of the cables directly. That's probably a much, much easier shot to make. Surprisingly, no. Though I guess if I put it so that it chains and destroys the things that the cables are on, it doesn't really matter. So, I can go there, I can go there, I can go there to link them. Okay, yeah, that gives me 3 really easy targets to hit. Okay, this is fine. Gonna go this way, up through here. Grab that, and out this way. This might be more viable than I initially thought that it was. Or it might just be that the tolerances aren't as tight. Oh. Extra speed's no joke. So drop down here. Grab that, get up here as fast as possible. Fall off. Okay, that's way faster. Or if nothing else, smoother. Smooth is fast. Just of a different stripe. We'll just roll with it. Oh. A little too fast. It worked though. Awesome. Never mind that the helicopter had eyes on me. Yeah, they legally cannot shoot me. I am leaving the premises. This is fine. I like the helicopter having a nice essential crisis up there. Also, I feel a concerning pain in my throat, which makes me think that maybe I am getting sick. Ooh, Guru. Nice. $3,000 cash rewards. Right. I need line of sight to the van and all antennas with a surveillance van. And within range. Fire alarm and wired alarm boxes. And this is the one that I'm allowed to drive, I guess. It's kinda cool. To what extent can I relocate these? Because I presume that I can cut this thing off and like move it as long as I don't actually break the wire. That's looking like a yes. was a powerful shove. Okay, so I can put that there. There's one there that I can honestly probably just leave there. There's that thing there, which you can probably move down to there. Yeah. Okay, so I can get that there. That there. I could also break one and then drag it over, rather than trying to get them all into position without setting off an alarm. I could even hypothetically do that for 2 of them, actually. Or more. And that might end up being what I need to do. Unless I just punch a hole straight through them all. But then I think I might run into range limitations. There's that one. Okay, yeah, I'm imagining something like... I get this one into a car, I loosen this one off over here. Then drive off with this one, grab this one along the way. And then get over here, where it meets up with the other 3. That is at least how I'm envisioning it. I haven't need a car that can do the job, but there are a few cars around. I'm sure that at least one of them is suitable. I think I just sent that truck to the back rooms. Right, can I get this off without setting it off? For a second I thought that it bounced perfectly in. Come on, get up there. Come on, get up there. In there. Yes, in. Go. Excellent. So yeah, I drive this around. Will this snap or will it pull off? Also, I like how I can't actually see out the driver's window. That is heavy, and I probably don't have time to put it in the carriage properly, but that's okay. This, I think, is totally viable. See, I grab that. I run around, grab that. And grab that while I'm at it. I can also move the surveillance van. So, like, if I can move it so that this one and this one, let's say, are both in sight, and I don't have to move them. Oh. Alright, cool. So now I just have to bring the other two around. That makes this much, much easier. Yeah, getting this one off with the rocket was kind of where my head was at as well. Alright, this is connected already. I think I double connected it, but whatever. Cable in hand. I actually probably wanted the rocket launcher, oh well. Cable is pressed to 3 times. Excellent. Yeah, that one was really easy, especially compared to some of the others. Oh, it's nice. I like that. I've never liked candy canes, mostly because I'm allergic to mint. Oh, it's a portrait of Mother. I love that. This place is looking super nice. Ooh, presents. Visit Wonderland. Alright, let's call it there for the night. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it each and every time. The next scheduled stream is going to be tomorrow. The game is going to be Unepic. The next time that I'm playing Teardown in particular is going to be on Sunday. I hope you have a wonderful night. I hope to see you again. Good night.